I awoke from my long nap with my wife prodding me in a frightened voice on the edge of hysteria, saying, "Sweetie, I think you need to get up. You should see this." As soon as I opened my eyes, I realized my throat was raw from breathing in smoke. I had slept on the arm of the couch for about 4 hours. I rose up suddenly and grabbed my wife by the arm. "What is it? What's happening?" I said. I had been dreaming that Benny was looking for me and was on the verge of finding me.
"The news said it is in our neighborhood now, right down the street. They are moving towards Hollywood Boulevard," she said with a worried expression.
"Honey, why did you let me sleep? You should have woken me up," I said, leaping to my feet and reaching for the Desert Eagle underneath a couch cushion.
"I thought you said I should let you sleep when you were tired," she blurted out.
I glanced at the television. They were panning our neighborhood from the sky, and everything was on fire. Hundreds, thousands of people were running everywhere. "Yes, honey, that's normally a good rule of thumb, except during the collapse of civilization, or else when our house is in the middle of a firestorm," I yelled, really angry she had not awakened me. "Go to the back of the house and sit in the bathroom near the water cooler. Take the television back there with you and something to eat. Lock the door and stay in there until I come to get you. Run the bathroom ventilator. It will pull air through the house and filter some of the smoke out as it comes under the bathroom door." She knew I was not going to argue with her in a situation like this, so she did as I said. I checked the blinds, took a glance outside the house. Chaos. It was insane. People were running everywhere. Fire engine horns, sirens, helicopter blades whooshing over the roof again and again. I took a deep breath, stuck the Desert Eagle under my belt beneath my shirt, and ran outside. A dark-haired woman was screaming for help at my front gate. Her mascara was running, and she looked either crazy or terrified. She didn't appear to have any marks on her, so I helped her to her feet, asked her to stop screaming. What did she need help with? She backed away and ran towards the other end of the block as though she were trying to catch up to someone. Everybody was running down from Sunset past me, mostly all black people, as though something was coming from the east. Some teenage kids went flying past with arms full of cell phones. I thought they were laughing at first, but then I realized they were crying hysterically. I went down to the junction of Sunset and Martin, less than 20 meters from my front door. People bumping against me in blind terror, some of them staring at me like I was somebody they knew. I had no idea what the hell was going on. The air was thick with smoke, and the sheer volume of noise was deafening. Beneath all the emergency horns and sirens, there was another noise. Kind of rushing sound like you might hear come from a seashell if you put it to your ear. I recognized it. I had heard it at sporting events. It was the sound of thousands of people cheering, yelling, hollering all at once. I peered around the corner of the dry cleaning store to the east, towards La Cienega. The street I had run down in the morning to get to the Quick Mart, which had been deserted at the time. Holy Christ, I thought. This can't be happening. I am not good at estimating numbers in a crowd. I would guess that I was looking at a mob of somewhere between 20,000 to 50,000 people about 4 blocks away. It was a liquid dynamic mass of human beings which flowed like a single living organism. They were so obscured by smoke at that distance that sometimes they seemed to ripple like a mirage in a spaghetti western. The entire mob was waiting patiently out in front of the gigantic Walmart superstore as 2 large 18-wheel trucks backed up slowly to the security gates. I could hear the roaring of the engines idling in reverse, slowly backing up. Men jumped off the rear gates and attached chains from the bumpers of the trucks to the security gates. Then the crowd drew back in a large circle to give the trucks some room. There was an ear-shattering roar of approval as the trucks pulled forward and tore the security gates from the front of Walmart, clattering behind in pieces. I saw some of the rioters jump on the gates and ride them like surfboards as they were pulled away. Then the colossal human mob rushed into the Walmart like air filling a vacuum. They kept coming and coming. I didn't see how so many people could fit in there all at once. I had been staring in open-mouthed shock as the entire vignette took place, then realized that now looters would be making good their escape once they had their fill of stolen goods. This way, possibly. I turned and ran back to the house. An alleyway I had passed less than 3 minutes ago to the immediate left of the front of our house had been empty. There were now 3 black guys standing right outside our chain-link fence, one of them trying to light the wick on a beer bottle while another held a bottle of kerosene. It so took me by surprise I almost fell, trying to come to a halt. I reached for the Desert Eagle, hands shaking, and pulled the gun out. I had never pointed a gun at another human being in my life. "Hey!" I yelled. "What in the hell are you doing? Drop that bottle! Get your hands up in the air!" The 3 black guys were hard, crusty-looking types, all of them dressed in filthy clothing and matted down with dirt. One of them with a big set of dreadlocks spoke before anybody else. "White boy, you must be tripping. Don't even think about pointing that gun at me." The other 2 nodded at their friend, apparently the leader, but they had frozen irregardless. "This is a citizen's arrest! Get your hands up!" I yelled, chambered around in the gun and pointed at the guy with the dreadlocks. "Drop everything and put your hands up!" I screamed in the scariest voice I could come up with. I sounded kind of hoarse from all the smoke in the air. "Sissy bitch, what you think you are? We ain't done nothing, not a damn thing. You can't arrest nobody, you punk-ass little white boy," the dreadlocks guy said, but they all dropped everything on the ground. The beer bottle broke, and I caught the odor of kerosene immediately from the contents that poured out. I stared at the liquid as it ran across the floor of the alleyway. I could not believe it. These guys were getting ready to burn us. Of course, we were at a corner house with a blind alleyway running alongside us. Our house was the perfect candidate to burn, just like all the other corner houses we had seen on television. Nothing personal, you understand. These guys were getting ready to torch our house because it was conveniently located for just that purpose. I felt weird all of a sudden. Really weird. The gun wavered. "Okay, nobody move," I said, feeling my gorge rising. The 3 black guys were watching me like a hawk. With complete astonishment, I vomited a huge mouthful of foul-smelling water up into the air, soaking my shirt sleeve. One of the black guys chuckled in amusement. I was trying to keep the gun trained on them, and suddenly I was vomiting profusely, gouts of greasy, dark water into the air. Nothing like that had ever happened to me before. I think the sheer amount of black tea, Coca-Cola, and coffee I had drunk to stay awake had rubbed my stomach lining raw. "Don't you fucking move, asshole. I will put a bullet in your ass, I promise you," I said, but I was bent over and fell to my knees as soon as I finished the sentence, dry heaves racking me. I was trying to keep the gun pointed at them and vomit at the same time. They were already backing away towards the alley from where they had come. They were all giggling and uttering little expressions of awe at their good luck. I tried to keep the gun on them, but they knew I wasn't going to shoot them. They hopped backwards until they were well down the alley and then took off running while guffawing at the spectacle of me dry retching with the Desert Eagle in my hand. It took me about a minute to clear my stomach when the heaves would stop. I definitely felt a little better, but they were long gone. I stood up slowly, still coughing weakly. All 3 of them had vanished in the blink of an eye. They could run like the wind. They were probably 3 blocks away by now. I suddenly realized how the arsonists had created the illusion of fires breaking out spontaneously and why the newscasters kept claiming they were organized. The truth is, nearly all the arsonists were on foot, traveled light, and made their escape simply by running away. Chances are they found bottles for containers as they ran. In a dense urban area like Los Angeles, you could torch a building with a single bottle filled with accelerant and be many blocks away before the smoke attracted a police or news helicopter. It was so simple a child could do it, and if you were a fast runner, your chances of being captured were nil. It would also not take many arsonists if they were torching and running on an hourly basis. That's when I began to comprehend what had happened. The arsonists had probably destroyed an entire city and brought it to its knees with empty beer bottles and a few dollars worth of lamp oil available anywhere. Probably less than 30 human beings had ravaged the city of Los Angeles worse than a nuclear weapon might have for less money than what most people spend on lunch. They simply ran away in the time it took for police to respond. If this were the case, it meant the entire facade of civilization was a complete sham, a brittle fake painted monolith made out of candy glass. If any city could be destroyed by 30 guys on foot with $10 worth of kerosene, everything I'd ever been induced to believe in my life about civilization was hollow, false, a lie. We were never more than 15 minutes away from absolute anarchy in any large metropolitan city. I tucked the gun back under my shirt and walked back to my house to check on my wife. People running all around me with stolen goods and looted valuables. A helicopter buzzed overhead, saying something over a loudspeaker, but I couldn't make out what it was. It was just a weak little warbling noise against a sea of madness all around me. I will conclude my account by telling you of the last few hours of the riots that afternoon, and the moment when I had to produce the combat shotgun.